Surely one of the greatest figures of the 20th century was a man from India, Mahatma Gandhi. Through his example and teaching of nonviolence, he was able to overturn the world as no army would have been able to do. In 1931, old Gandhi visited Mussolini, then the leader of Italy. He brought along with him his constant companion, a goat. Mussolini's children pointed at the old man with the goat and laughed at them. But their father rebuked them, saying, "That old man and his goat are shaking the British Empire." Maybe we need a Gandhi and his goat in our world today, a world so torn with violence. Time after time we hear shocking news of mass shootings, tragic killings, even in our schools. What has the world come to? Need we wonder at such senseless violence? Need we wonder when young people wipe out others before wiping out themselves? How do we behave as nations? How do we act as a human species? We ourselves have built up this culture of violence. In the mid-20th century, a profound and heartfelt speech was given that I would like to share with you now. Every gun that is made, every warship launched, every rocket fired signifies in the final sense a theft from those who hunger and are not fed, those who are cold and are not clothed. This world in arms is not spending money alone. It is spending the sweat of its laborers, the genius of its scientists, the hopes of its children. The cost of one modern heavy bomber is this: a modern brick school in more than 30 cities. It is 2 electric power plants, each serving a town of 60,000 population. It is 2 fine, fully equipped hospitals. It is some 50 miles of concrete highway. We pay for a single fighter plane with 500,000 bushels of wheat. We pay for a single destroyer with new homes that could have housed more than 8,000 people. This, I repeat, is the best way of life to be found on the road the world has been taking. This is not a way of life at all in any true sense. Under the cloud of threatening war, it is humanity hanging from a cross of iron. Who was it that gave this impassioned speech? It was not Mahatma Gandhi, although he himself said the same thing many times over in other words. It was not Mother Teresa, though she too said the same thing in her own words. Nor was it the Pope, though the Pope too repeatedly said the same thing in other words. These were the words of General Dwight D. Eisenhower, Supreme Commander of the Allied Forces in Europe, Supreme Commander of the NATO forces, and 34th President of the United States. He recognized the fruitless and destructive culture of violence that we have been building up as a human race. Is it any wonder, then, that we are surrounded by violence? We as Americans have a very peculiar attitude towards movies. We are horrified to see on the screen an unclothed human body, as natural and as beautiful as God created us. Yet we take our children to see the most violent films where they thrill to human beings blowing each other to pieces. We place into the laps of our children the most violent computer games, where they can learn the fine art of individual and mass destruction. And have you ever listened to the lyrics of some of the music out there now? All around, hatred and violence are spewed. It was not always so. In my own years of growing up, the songs were quite a bit different from those of today. In fact, they were often filled with remarkable idealism. I can remember one song in particular that came out around 1971 and goes like this. I'd like to build the world a home and furnish it with love, grow apple trees and honey bees and snow-white turtle doves. I'd like to teach the world to sing in perfect harmony. I'd like to hold it in my arms and keep it company. I'd like to see the world for once all standing hand in hand, and hear them echo through the hills for peace throughout the land. That's the song I hear. Let the world sing today, a song of peace that echoes on and never goes away. How far we have come now from those kinder, gentler days. How far we have come from the idealism of songs such as this. Even in our letter writing, we no longer include the niceties that not so long ago we never would have omitted. Do you remember years ago when you wrote a letter, either personal or business, it always began with the affectionate and respectful salutation of dear or my dear, and ended with an equally affectionate conclusion of love, affectionately yours, very truly yours, sincerely yours. Nowadays, for salutation, you're lucky to get a hey. There was a reason for those niceties in our speech and in our writing. When we treat people in our speech or in our writing with kindness and gentleness, we are building up a kinder and gentler world. Do you perhaps work with someone with whom you have always to tread on eggshells? One of those people for whom nothing is ever right? And when something does not go their way, when they don't see things progressing as they think they might, woe to anyone in their path. Instead of being flexible and working together to make the most of a situation, they make everyone's life miserable. Chill out! Hang loose! Hakuna Matata! Stop shooting at each other! We must stop shooting at each other, for whether by guns or by words or by looks, we are capable of destroying one another. And in our own age, we are perfectly capable of destroying this entire planet. Oh, but we are also perfectly capable of building the reign of God right here on earth, the reign of justice, peace, and love, a reign envisioned by Isaiah of old, through whom the Spirit spoke. They shall beat their swords into plowshares, and their spears into pruning hooks. Nation shall no longer take up sword against nation, nor shall they again train for war. The reign envisioned by the Christ, who proclaimed, all those who take up the sword shall perish by the sword. Blessed are the peacemakers, for they will be called children of God. Who taught us to build up a world on earth as it is in heaven. I'd like to see the world for once, all standing hand in hand, and hear them echo through the hills for peace throughout the land. Let us stand hand in hand and build up that divine ring. An old man and his goat, a young woman and her friends, can do far more than shake up an empire. Together, we can shake the world.